Hey you guys, it's me Joey. I'm finally getting around to it. That's right, I'm going to be doing my 2021 in the bag. Alright, starting out with the bag that I'll be carrying around this year. I upgraded my Trooper to the Paratrooper bag by Dynamic Discs. I absolutely love this thing. This thing holds everything I need and more. I highly suggest. Such a great disc for the price. Alright, so let's get right into what's in my bag. I'm going to start out with my putters. If you guys know me, you guys know that I putt with the Latitude 64 Piers. I have one in the Zero Hard Burst and then one in the Zero Soft Burst. This blue Zero Soft Burst, it's really nice, really gummy. This is my approach putter. I like throwing this thing. It doesn't really give me a big skip at the end. Once it hits the ground, it pretty much stays where I need it to. And then I putt with my Zero Hard Pier. The Piers are just super comfortable in my hands. I haven't really found a putter that feels as good as this does. Alright, next putter in my bag. This putter may look a little familiar to you. This is the prototype putter from Trash Panda. This thing may not be PDGA approved yet, but I still carry it around. It's super awesome. I like spreading the word and showing it off to people. Alright, moving on to my mid-ranges. Starting off with my overstable mid-ranges, I bag a soft Dynamic Disc Justice and a Lucid Justice. The Soft Justice is a new addition to my bag. I just got it out of the Hand Eye Supply subscription box. It's super gummy, feels really comfortable in the hand, and for these cold Wisconsin winters, I'm not afraid of throwing this thing and cracking it up. And then my Lucid Justice, this thing is just a beefcake. I love throwing this thing on forehands. It gives me great skips. This is my get out of jail free card disc for sure. Alright, now something a little bit less overstable than the Justice, the Dynamic Discs Lucid X Verdict. This is my go-to forehand mid-range. I absolutely love this thing. Shout out to you, Chris Clemens, for making such an amazing mid-range. This thing is like I said, I use this thing on all my forehands for mid-ranges. It's also great for backhands. Alright, next up, you guys already know how much I love the EMAG Truth. I bag 3 of these bad boys. One in the Lucid, one in the Glimmer Lucid, and then I bag a Lucid X EMAG Truth. All 3 of these discs do something different for me. This first Lucid EMAG Truth, I died by JL Dies. Shout out to you, man. This is my go-to EMAG. I throw this thing all the time, so it's super beat up. It flies super straight, kind of flippy for me. The Glimmer Lucid Plastic, this is a newer addition to my bag. It flies just like an EMAG should, a little bit stable to kind of overstable. And then the Lucid X EMAG Truth, I pretty much bring this thing out when it's a super windy day. I find that the Lucid X plastic holds up in the wind a lot better. Alright, next mid-range in my bag, I bag the Latitude 64 Opto Claymore. My buddy Brendan Bryant, you guys might know him as Eurodisc on Instagram, sent this out to me, and I've loved this thing ever since I started throwing it. This thing is the straightest flying disc I have ever thrown. I throw this thing on nice tunnel shots, nice woods shots. This is my go-to disc if I need something super straight. Alright, the last mid-range in my bag is my understable mid-range, and that is the Dynamic Discs Lucid Bounty with the Hand Eye Supply stamp on it. I needed something in the understable slot that was a little bit slower speed, and this thing does it for me. I love this disc. It's super nice for hyzer flips and kind of slight turnovers. I'm super excited to start using this thing more this season. Alright, so moving on to my fairway drivers. The first fairway driver I bag is the Primeburst Dynamic Discs Maverick. This thing has seen plenty of trees, so it flies super straight, kind of flippy for me, but this is my good understable fairway driver. Next up, you guys already know I love my Felons just as much as I love my EMAG Truths. That's why I bag 3 of them. I bag a Lucid Felon, a Fusion Burst Felon, and a Lucid X Eric Oakley Felon. All 3 of these mid-ranges, just like the Truths, do something a little different for me. This Lucid Felon is the first Dynamic Disc I've ever bagged. So it's been with me for a very long time. This thing is a super straight flying disc with a nice hard finish right at the end. This Fusion Burst Felon, kind of new, so it does exactly what a Felon needs to do. Pretty overstable. And then the Lucid X Eric Oakley Zombie Stamp Felon is the most overstable Felon I have ever thrown. This thing If I need to get around a corner super hard, this is what I'm reaching for. Alright, moving on. The next fairway driver is going to be a Lucid Vandal. I love this thing. This thing was introduced to me halfway through the season, kind of towards the end of the season last year. It was one of the newer discs that Dynamic Discs released, and as soon as I got my hands on it, I loved it from the beginning. I throw it on hyzer flips, slight turnovers, wide hyzers. This thing is definitely going to be one of my go-tos this season. Next, I bag 2 Dynamic Discs Convict. I bag a Fusion Burst as well as a Lucid X. The Fusion Burst Convict is my go-to fairway driver, probably my go-to disc in my bag. I throw this thing the most. I absolutely love it. And if I need this disc to be a little bit more overstable, I'm reaching for my Lucid X. Alright, last fairway driver in my bag. I kind of consider this one more of my distance driver. The Lucid Getaway by Dynamic Discs. So this thing has been in my bag for a very long time. So it's pretty beat up. Throw it on hyzer flips, straight shots. This thing can go far for a fairway driver. Alright, that wraps up my fairway drivers. Now on to the distance drivers. So for my understable slot in the distance drivers, I bag 2 Renegades. I bag a Biofusion Renegade as well as a Lucid X Renegade. The Biofusion Renegade is super flippy for me. This is my roller disc. I love throwing this thing on a roller. I throw it pretty much flat or on an anhyzer. It flips over, turns straight into a roller for me. And then this Lucid X Renegade is a little bit less flippy. So I throw this on a hyzer. It flips up, kind of drifts off, and comes back right at the end. I throw this also on big anhyzer shots. Alright, moving on to my favorite distance driver. It is the Dynamic Discs Lucid Sergeant. I love this thing. I actually have 3 of them, but this one is a newer edition, so I thought I'd put this one in my bag. I throw this thing all the time. Forehands, backhands, anhyzers, hyzer flips, you name it, this is the disc for it. Alright, next up, the Dynamic Discs Lucid Trespass. I also got this disc out of the Hand-Eye Supply subscription box. I've heard a ton of great things about these, so I'm super excited to start throwing this season. Next distance driver I bag is the Dynamic Disc Lucid X Sheriff by Page Shoe. I use this thing on my forehands. This thing bombs on forehands. I throw it on big forehand flexes as well as backhand flexes. I like throwing this thing. This thing goes very far. Alright, the last disc in my bag is the Dynamic Discs Fusion Raider with the Dynamic Disc Squad stamp on it. I haven't thrown this thing a whole lot, but when I do, this thing goes far, let me tell you guys. Alright, so that wraps up the discs in my bag. I'm going to move on to the accessories. So of course, I got my whale sack. I love this thing. Carry this thing with me every round. Casual round or tournament play. I love this thing so much. Alright, so the next accessory I have in my bag are towels. You can never have enough towels, especially here in Wisconsin with these wet springs and falls. I have 2 North Par towels as well as an Infinite Discs towel. And then lastly are the minis in my bag. I have quite a few of them. I have a Hand-Eye Supply mini. I have a JL Dyes mini. I have the North Par Sweet mini. And then this custom-made mini I had made for my daughter, says Daddy's Little Caddy on it. Alright, so that wraps it up for my 2021 in the bag. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys would actually like to see a bag review on the Paratrooper, let me know down below in the comments. I would love to hear it. Without further ado, peace out and be dynamic, everybody.